Welcome to the Maine Real Estate Roundtable podcast. I'm Bobbie Grenier, your trusted guide to navigating the world of real estate in Maine. Get ready to debunk mortgage myths, unravel real estate mysteries, and learn tips to avoid costly mistakes. Whether you're an industry pro, an overwhelmed buyer, confused seller, or simply curious about life in Maine, this is the podcast for you. Hey, my friend, thanks for hitting play. You found the Maine Real Estate Roundtable podcast where we talk about all things Maine real estate. I'm your host, Bobbie, and today we're diving into a topic that might send shivers down your spine, decluttering and staging. If you are anything like me, the word alone makes you feel overwhelmed, maybe even a little anxious. Whether you're aiming to organize your space for your own sanity or prepping to sell your home in the hot spring market, decluttering is the first step, and it's more important than you might think. But don't worry, we're not leaving you to figure it out alone. I'm thrilled to welcome back a fan favorite, Lisa Richards, a rock star real estate agent with eXp Realty, a home staging pro, a master of interior design. Lisa's here to not only help us tackle the physical side of decluttering, but also to shift our mindset so we can start with confidence. In today's episode, Lisa will share why decluttering is a game changer for staging your home, how it directly impacts your sale price, and she's even debunking some common myths about staging. Spoiler alert, it's way more attainable than you think, no matter your budget. Plus, she's bringing us actionable tips and resources that will help make the process feel doable. So grab your coffee, find that comfy spot, take a deep breath, and let's get started. Welcome back, Lisa.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I'm so excited. We've been talking about this for a few months now, and here we are.
We have, and I'm so super excited about our topic. But before we get into that, you have absolutely need to fill us all in on all of your changes and everything exciting going on with you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I know. I was thinking about it this morning as I was preparing, and I think it's probably been about 6 months. I think when, the first time that I was a guest, and actually I was on with Brad at that point. It was maybe July, August. So it's been a minute since we've kind of touched base in a formal capacity. So, I have recently transitioned from Remax Collaborative to eXp. So my real estate practice is still going strong, but I will be kind of taking that on in this new year in a little bit of a different capacity. So very exciting, a little overwhelming. Sometimes you kind of have to get to know the new ways of a new brokerage, but very much looking forward to doing that. I know you've had several guests on that have made that switch as well. So you will probably start to recognize some of those faces in my photos and some of the marketing. So that's something new and exciting for the new year. Differentiate Me, which is the interior design and staging business that Brad and I created over the summer, has really taken off. So that's been really exciting. And we have branched out quite a bit. And I should probably let everybody know, although Brad is still practicing real estate, he and I are not doing that in a duo capacity at this point. He did feel like he was really missing his healthcare roots. So he, over the past few months, has transitioned back to radiology, which is what he went to school for. And we remain very, very close, but we're going to practice individually as it relates to real estate. And as he's made that decision, he also has withdrawn himself from Differentiate Me. So Diff Me still very much moving forward, but it will be, me as the sole owner, executive creative director as well. So lots of changes, I guess. Lots going on.
Well, I definitely want to refer people back because there was so much great information on that original episode that we did with Brad. But just anyone that isn't familiar, can you give us a rundown of what Differentiate Me is all about?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Differentiate Me, I think is really a passion project that I've had for many, many years. I didn't know exactly how I wanted to leverage my visual merchandising and fashion background before. But then when I became a licensed realtor, I thought, oh gosh, this might be a nice way to expand, my real estate practice and to provide, kind of an elevated or differentiated experience for my real estate clients. So it dovetailed nicely, but it has really evolved over the past 6 months into providing a different type of service in addition to the staging. So interior design for folks, residential and commercially, who are looking, kind of for a glow up. Maybe they need a specific area of their home or business refreshed. In some instances, it's been entire homes. In some instances, it's been entire businesses. Airbnbs as well have reached out. So we've done a lot of work for Airbnbs over the late fall to prepare them for that influx that they anticipate as we head into the next tourism season. That's been a lot of fun. Also, I've been hired recently by a local photography studio. So I will be a creative director on set for Danielle Pease at Danielle Pease Photography. She is a BNI colleague. So BNI is Business Networking International. And I recently became a member of one of the largest chapters in the state of Maine. And I meet with my colleagues on Friday mornings. Every week, and we have an opportunity to share about our businesses and network and provide referrals to one another. So Danny said, hey, I would love for you to come in and help me. I'm thinking about expanding into lifestyle and branding shoots. And I know that's something that you're familiar with. And would you, kind of help co-brand that with me? So that's brand new. And you're actually going to be the first one to hear this. I'm so excited to announce that Differentiate Me is also going into partnership with Ashley Cunningham and her team at Downtown Charcuterie. So for people who aren't aware, she has recently started to integrate some classes and events at their new space on North Main Street in Brewer. And she reached out earlier this week and said, hey, could we talk about some type of collaboration where you're helping to design those events and you're available and accessible to those folks, during their event as well. So hot off the presses, we're kind of doing events as well. So Differentiate Me has really evolved. And of course, we'll continue to provide that level of elevated staging, but also really integrating some of that, more creative direction and aesthetic support for events, including nonprofit events. So similar to the Masquerade Ball that Brad and I hosted in October, I'm going to be kind of volunteering my services for a big Make-A-Wish event that's happening. So many things. So I think one of the benefits of being a new business owner is that, I have the ability to kind of pivot and be, a little bit more open to things that potentially I would not have integrated or thought of before. So if people are interested in learning more, or you have something and you think like, hey, I don't know if this is within your scope, I don't know if this is something that you do, please connect, please reach out. And Bobbie, of course, you'll have all that contact information, I'm sure, when this goes live. But the answer is yes. I will figure out a way that we can navigate it to make it work for those folks. So very, very excited.
Wow. Wow. So many exciting things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, clearly your passion is obvious and you are doing, just really marries beautifully with your real estate practice. So congratulations on everything. Well, here we are in mid-January. I guess we're getting towards the end of January. And I really feel like this is a time that people are turning their eye to possibly selling in the spring market. So I wanted to pick your brain and talk with you about not just staging, but almost pre-staging, just to really give some ideas, some inspiration, some insight as to how someone can just get started with that. Where do they even begin? Because it's overwhelming.
It certainly is. I'm feeling that myself. I spend a lot of my quote unquote free time making other people's spaces look beautiful and well organized, and efficient, depending on what that space is being utilized for. And then I go home and I'm like, oh, Differentiate Me needs to do a little work around here as well. So especially at this time of year, Bobbie, I think a lot of people, myself included, spend a lot of time on the visual aesthetic of their home in the back half of the year, right? There's so much going on. It's summertime and, maybe you're hosting barbecues more regularly, so your outside space really has that curb appeal that everybody loves so much. Then we transition into the fall, and I don't know about you, but that's my favorite season for decor. And so, you're doing much more lavish interior decorating. You certainly are having folks over for holiday functions and things of that nature. And then, leaning into December, depending on, the types of things that you do celebrate, whether it's Hanukkah, whether it's more, traditional holidays such as Christmas, the house is just glowing. You've got your menorah, or you've got, potentially a Christmas tree with lights, and you have that ambient glow, and the house looks just so magical and soothing. And then, New Year's comes and goes, and you're kind of sitting and thinking, now what? And that's how I feel in my own home. So it's a challenging time of year. It's also a time of year where there's been a lot of excess, and you're bringing a lot of things into your home, whether it is, for gifting or that you've received, or all the decor that you were leveraging and the wrapping supplies. Or maybe you've had to bring outside items into your home if you don't have a garage space or a shed. Maybe those are cluttering up your basement. So it can be a really overwhelming time of year for people. It's a little bit of a gloomy time of year in some instances as well, right? Like, we're not getting as much daylight. It is colder and darker. And if you're not someone that's an avid outdoors person or sporting enthusiast, for winter sports, you're spending a lot of time in your home. So I feel like it's kind of that snowball effect where it starts small and then is rolling downhill. So one thing that I've been focusing on with clients, both real estate and design clients, is, kind of taking that step back, right? Taking that objective 3 to 5 foot view of your space. Maybe it's one room, maybe it's your entire home, and really trying to look at it through an objective lens. Like, what are the areas that are stressing you out? And I don't know if there's a space in your home. I mean, do you have anything like that going on, Bobbie? Do you identify with that at all, either at the office or in your home?
Oh, sister, both, all of it,
Like,
all of
so
it.
many houses. Yeah. Yeah.
All of it. Yeah. So it's the same thing. You hit the nail on the head that, I had my Christmas tree up and I had all my Christmas decor out, and I actually had the day after Christmas off, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of early to take it down, but I had the opportunity. So I went ahead, took everything down, packed it up in the totes, and I am lucky enough to have a place to store it, out of sight and everything.
Sure.
And at first it's like, oh, this is nice. I've got all this space. And then you start kind of looking around at, the wall color, and maybe the things that once the Christmas glow is off are looking a little bit shabby. So yes. And it's just easy, especially, my husband, love him so much. He's a cluttery kind of guy. So yeah, just looking around and thinking, okay, I've got this time, indoors, I've got some extra time. Things are a little slower in real estate, but where do I start? It's just, the basics of not being overwhelmed, which I happen to get overwhelmed with these sorts of things very easily. So I'm really excited for myself to hear your tips too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's safe to say that a lot of people are feeling the way that we are, Bobbie. I feel that way in my home. I'm glad that you used the term clutter. Because when you start to talk about staging, and even more so that pre-staging, right? Like, most people are like, okay, well, where do I begin? Right? Like, what's going to make the biggest impact? And the thing that they dread the most is sorting through their personal clutter. Even the most, minimalist drawn, aesthetic aesthetic approaches, right? Or design concepts, you still get mail, right? Like, there are still going to be things that make their way into your space that you have to address, because if you don't, eventually they're going to compound, and you're going to be looking at a pile of mail on the counter, or you're going to be looking at all kinds of clutter on your countertops or what have you. So the best tip that I can give people is start the decluttering process now. And when I'm saying now to all of you listening, I mean today. Because once that first domino falls, it does get easier and easier. And then I find that you kind of get into it, because it feels better. You have an instant gratification of, whew, Okay, I've been looking at that stack of, sale flyers on the counter for 3 weeks, and I forced myself to, go through them when I was watching my program, and now it's gone. And boy, okay, now my counter feels that much cleaner. So decluttering is so critical, and it sounds silly. It's like such a simple thing, but it's the thing that people dread doing the absolute most, because it does require a little bit of time and it does require a little bit of attention. So that is the first and best step that I can, or suggestion that I can offer people. And to your point, Bobbie, it is a good time to do it. Especially if you're, like us and working in an industry that is predominantly and historically busier in the back half of the year. So taking the time to declutter, it is the number one turnoff for folks when they are coming to tour your home. You can have somebody come in and stage your home beautifully, but if you are unable to maintain it, and if you are thinking, well, you know what, I'll just stuff all of that clutter into a closet. Guess what, folks? People are opening your closets when they're touring your home. One of the most important things to a new homeowner is there adequate storage in place? So if they open that closet and a pile of your clutter comes falling out, it may be the thing that prevents them from moving forward to an offer on your home, especially when there starts to be a little bit more supply available in the spring market. So the whole, guys behind me naming my company Differentiate Me is, we want to provide people solutions and opportunities to truly differentiate their space, whether it is in a sales capacity, if you're looking to go to market, or, just you want to be the hostess of the mostest and you want to be the house on the block that is admired, for your design and your style. So decluttering is so huge. What are the things about that clutter, Bobbie, that you feel overwhelmed by?
For me, I'm very much an all or nothing kind of person. So if
Sure.
I can't do it all, attic to basement, if I can't do it all in a weekend, I think I'm not going to do anything. And really getting my mindset to be like, okay, I'm going to do my junk drawer today. Or like you said, the stack of flyers on the counter. And I really, with the new year, that was one, I don't make resolutions, but I do try to make New Year's goals. That was one of my goals, was to start going through. And I'm not looking to put my house on the market,
Yep.
but I, like you said, I definitely will enjoy my space that much more, not always, side-eyeing the, stack of clutter here or there. And
I think, for people, really take that moment. And in some instances, when I'm doing initial consultations with clients, we're having kind of that family meeting, in the living room or sitting around the dining room table. And these are some of the elementary questions that I'm asking. Like, talk to me about the things that you bicker about throughout the course of the week, you know? And they're at first a little apprehensive. And I'm like, listen, no judgment. We all have it. But like, what are those things? What are the things that make you feel overwhelmed when you walk in? My goal for people, especially, any of the homes that I'm assisting my real estate clients in purchasing or selling, but certainly my design clients, whether it's a commercial or residential space, like, you spend a lot of time in those areas. Like, there is a direct link to, how you're feeling emotionally, how you're feeling mentally, do you feel productive? Do you feel happy and relaxed in that space? So, it's important, right? Like, it's important that people aren't spending time arguing with their loved ones about, why can't you just pick up your junk, or why do you always leave stuff here or there? So we kind of start by having those honest conversations about, what are the things about your space that stress you out? What are the things that you bicker about? What are the aspects about this space that, prevent you from feeling like you can unwind when you're in it? So we start there. And then I really kind of help them, set a priority order. Okay. Like, this is what I'm hearing. I'm the objective third party in this conversation, and this is what I'm hearing. And this is where we start. I mean, it's that simple. And you don't have to hire a designer. I mean, not that I'm looking to put myself out of business by any means, but you don't have to hire a designer to do that for you. Like, have that dialogue as your own family. So I think ultimately it comes down to really understanding, do I have the space that I need for these things? Are there things here that I'm willing to part with? And a lot of the work that we've been doing at Differentiate Me over the past several months now is cleaning things out. And from a staging perspective with my real estate clients, it's not about, oh, we need to buy this to stage. It's we need to remove 50% of what you have packed into this house throughout the course of your ownership. And I don't know if I'm watching you nod. People can't see us right now, but I'm watching you nod your head. So I want to hear your thoughts or your experiences with that.
Okay, so here are my thoughts and experiences. I want to give everybody permission. Lisa and I are giving you permission to let it go. Throw it
Yes.
out,
Yes.
recycle it, repurpose it,
Yep.
let it be useful to somebody else. Because I don't know about you, but I will hold on to a piece of plastic that fell off something that I might need someday. And I've
Yes.
moved it, I don't know how many times over the course of 5 years. I've been in my house for
Yes.
30 years. So if that tells you my challenges there,
Yeah.
um, let it go. The clothes that don't fit you anymore or that you never wear, let them go. I did that in my own closet. Um, in my pantry, the appliances that I thought I would use that I don't use, let them go. Giving you that was like the biggest thing, to give myself permission to not hold on to something because, your mother-in-law gave it to you and you feel bad, let it be useful to somebody else, be it a yard sale or a Salvation Army, a Goodwill, however you decide that you want to donate those items, let it go. That's my best advice right there.
I agree 100%. And, there are a lot of great organizations locally that will help you let it go. And that can provide that resource in many instances. And Bobbie, I'll create a list of those folks if you want to upload that and post it. There are a lot of organizations that will come and grab it from you, because my sister-in-law, she'll hear this. It's okay, Courtney. I'm telling, I'm telling all of our family secrets now. But we joke about every year, my mom is like, let's have a garage sale. And every year we're like, oh, like, let's not, and say we did. We do it, right? You gather everything that's going to go in the garage sale this year, like whatever, it's got some value. We have the garage sale, and then of course there's always stuff left over that we want to donate, and our family chooses to do that, at various drop locations throughout the greater Bangor area. Well, then you put the darn tote in the back of your car and you're driving around with it for months. It's like, it's madness. So let it go. Repurposing is one of my favorite things to do. I just did that with Danielle Keys at her photography studio. I've done that at a number of residential design and staging projects throughout the course of 2024 as well. Folks feeling like, well, I bought this chair and I don't know why, and we don't even use it and I don't like it. And I say, well, did you buy it for this room? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, it belongs over here. So again, sometimes having that objective viewpoint, right? You get very used to looking at your own four walls. And sometimes the intention that you had for a specific piece that you brought in, whether it's a piece of art, a piece of furniture, a piece of decor, what have you, maybe it's an area rug, you love it and you want to integrate it, but you're just using it in the wrong way. So instead of going out and buying it, or the hassle, God forbid, of having to ship it back or what have you, I swear it's those instances that keep Facebook Marketplace going. Right? Bought this. I don't want to deal with having to ship it back. Like, I'm going to sell it to you for half off. Whatever the situation is, sometimes just asking somebody objective to come in. And again, you don't need to hire a designer to do it. Have your girlfriend come over, have a friend come over, have a business partner take a peek in your office and see what they think. And sometimes it's just that different approach or that different objective viewpoint. So repurposing is one of my favorite things to do, but really trying to eliminate the excess will instantly make your space feel more organized, larger, all of the things.
With an eye towards somebody that's decluttering for the purpose of selling their home or getting their house ready for market.
Sure.
Once they've decluttered, so I think we've covered that. You pack
Yeah.
up, you donate, you decide what you need. In some cases, maybe you need to rent a short-term storage facility, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Once we've done this, what would you say would be the next important step that they really need to consider, again, that they can hire help for or they can do
Yeah.
themselves?
Well, so the next one for me is rearranging the furniture. So typically, when I am at a listing appointment, from a real estate perspective, I'm observing the space, and similar to the decluttering and kind of referencing things just being over fixtured. And I see this a lot in larger homes. People maybe were in a period where they bought a home that has more square footage than they have ever had before. And I think the natural instinct is to fill it with furniture, right? How dare we have a single square inch, right? That's not spoken for. So oftentimes, rearranging the furniture and making sure that it's functional, that it's visually appealing, that there's a good traffic flow. When I am representing buyers and we're touring houses and we feel like we have to sidestep around, either excess furniture or furniture that's placed, inefficiently or ineffectively, it's a turnoff. It makes the space feel smaller. So I always recommend after the initial declutter that you're kind of rearranging that furniture. And again, if you're not comfortable doing that, talk to your realtor, reach out to someone like myself that provides that initial consultation, or, phone a friend, whatever you need to do. Removing personal items, I'm always on the fence about that, Bobbie. Back in the day, right? Like the two biggest things were pack up every family photo you've ever taken and have it out of sight and have an apple pie baking in the oven, right? Like gone are those days. I think some of the personal items that you don't need to utilize, absolutely, pack those away if you're confident that you're going to be going to market. In some instances, people have already identified their new home, right? Maybe they know that they're going to be relocating professionally, and they have an opportunity to kind of get ahead of that and send some of those items away. I always encourage people as part of the pre-staging process to include your whole family in that discussion, right? Make sure everybody understands, hey, we're going to whip this place in shape. We know that we're going to go to market in a couple of weeks or in a few months. Ask those questions. Like, what are the items that you use every day? You would be amazed how much like turmoil you can get ahead of just by having those discussions as a family or as roommates, whatever your living situation is. It's really important to have those substantive discussions prior to starting to pack everybody's life up or getting rid of things. You don't know, that might not have value to you, but there may be significant value emotionally or otherwise, sentimentally, to that person. And sometimes I'm in the middle of a consultation and I'm like, oh boy, I wish I'd come a few weeks ago, because we would have had some of these discussions in advance.
I've always heard the term, the home you're selling is not necessarily the home you're living in. You do have to have sort of a different eye about it if
Yeah,
you know that you kind of need to be showing ready.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that's why decluttering is so important, right? Like, I know you've been in your house for a while, Bobbie. Was this your first home, or have you been through the experience as a seller where it has to kind of maintain its aesthetic and staging?
This was not my first home. We did
Okay,
have a home many, many years ago, and yeah, we did have to go through that. We didn't have children at the time, which, made things easier.
sure.
But yeah, you kind of have to get to that place that you know that if you do a quick, you know, wiping down of the counters and sort of that, last minute thing, but you're basically always ready.
100%. And it's super stressful. I've done it a lot. Like realtors, we buy and sell homes. Like that's what we do. My youngest son is like a little nomad. He's great. And the advice that I'm giving you about have those discussions and make sure everybody's on the same page. Like that's trial and error, because there were instances where he was younger that I was like, nope, we got to up. And it was upsetting for him. So I'm trying to help y'all learn from some of the mistakes that I've made personally along the way. But you're absolutely right. When you're talking about, okay, when do I know that I'm ready? When do I know that I'm ready to go to market? It's exactly that, Bobbie. It's when you can comfortably, get that phone call from your realtor And now we use apps such as Showing Time. So for those of you in the industry that are listening, you're having that discussion with your seller client. How much notice do you need? If it's a vacant house, it's usually what we call a go and show, where really no notice is required because the prospective buyer and their agent are just going to swing by and walk through, a vacant home. But in instances where folks are living there, sometimes they need a couple of hours notice. They need to make accommodations for their pets, or they, just need to know that they have time to wipe down the bathroom vanity, make sure that the dishwasher is full and the door's closed, and that you've run your Roomba or whatever it is that you need to do to make it presentable. So that's my advice. You know that you're ready for that showing. You know that you're staged effectively or decluttered effectively when you're not having a panic attack because your agent has said, hey, there's a family that's in town for only this afternoon and they've identified your house as one that they'd like to see. Can we accommodate a showing? You're going to really do a tremendous disservice to yourself if you go to market and you're not at that point, because there are many instances, Bobbie, especially when the market starts to heat up and there's more inventory available, where if you can't let them in within a reasonable time frame, they're not going to come. And they're going to bypass you completely and potentially put an offer in elsewhere. So it's meaningful. There's a tremendous impact to this type of work and this type of preparation. And I just want to make sure everybody understands that and why it's important.
We talked about the decluttering, which if you do it yourself, costs no money. It's free of charge.
Yeah.
So some of the other things that I want you to talk to us about that really don't have any financial investment. It's more of a time, sweat equity investment. Can you talk to us about cleaning, painting, some of those things that are not super expensive but make a huge impact?
Yeah, absolutely. Curb appeal is really important. I think people sometimes get so focused on what's happening inside their house that they neglect what's going on outside of your home. And this includes winter, folks. I mean, people do buy and sell, as you know, right? You and I are still working, Bobbie, even though it's January in Maine. Real estate is sold 12 months out of the year, whether you're living in a 4-season climate or not. So, in the winter, in the spring, it doesn't matter what season it is, making sure that the exterior of your home is appealing is sometimes more important, because a lot of folks are doing a drive-by before they even decide, to schedule an appointment to tour your home and its interior with their representation. So, making sure, there are I have some clients, especially at this time of year, that are like, oh gosh, I didn't get around to raking in the fall. And I'm like, oh boy. And I know, like, okay, we're going to be out there trying to clean some of this up. We've had a really strange winter this year, right? Like, it's been cold, it's been mild, it's been raining, it's been snowing. So as a result, there's not necessarily just a beautiful blanket of feet of white snow hiding all those leaves that y'all maybe didn't get around to. So those types of things are meaningful. It makes the property, look a little less presentable. Some of those types of exterior cues as well become a potential red flag or concern or perception for prospective buyers. They think, well, gosh, if they didn't get around to raking their leaves, right, or they haven't, noticed that they've got some siding on the exterior of their home that's now detached, or they're looking at, maybe a patch of shingles that haven't been addressed on the roof, that may be a red flag for them. They may be fearful that that is an indication of additional deferred maintenance. So not only is it going to improve, somebody's perception of your property and your quote unquote curb appeal, but it also makes you much better informed about the condition of your own property, so that you as the homeowner can get ahead of that, line up, potentially those professionals to come and take a peek at it and get the work done before it's time to go to market. Getting ready to go to market can be really overwhelming for people. I understand that. You go down the rabbit hole and you go online and you start reading everybody's recommendations, and you will be curled up in a corner before the end of the day, right? Like it's overwhelming to think about the time and sometimes, any financial investment that needs to go into it. But I do believe wholeheartedly that by decluttering and doing, some of the sweat equity type things that you and your family really can accomplish, if you just make it a priority, you're going to be much better positioned to go to market. It's going to be much less stressful when it's time to do that. And not for nothing, the whole reason that we talk about this in the real estate and design industry is because there's a financial benefit to do so. So I think I shared when I spoke with you, when Brad and I were guests over the summer, that, at the time, I want to say that according to NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, the median sale price for a home in the US was, low to mid fours, right? And so in the state of Maine, we're typically fairly well aligned actually with that median throughout the US. So let's just say that right now the median price of a home in Maine is 400,000. And this is just for easy math, guys. I did not pull the numbers as of this morning, so let's not cancel. Please don't cancel Bobbie or I. But let's just, for simple math, say that it's 400,000 right now in the state of Maine. The National Association of Realtors did report anywhere between a 5 and 15% earnings above their original list price. So again, for the simple sake of math only, $400,000, times a 10% increase above your list price, like it's $40,000 if those folks stage their home, right? Like that's a meaningful amount of money for most people, Bobbie. So taking the time to do that, you're going to get that investment back. And that's not even talking about, some of the market conditions that we've seen previously where, there are multiple offer situations and things of that nature. So there's a real economic impact to you and your family. It can be the difference between you being able to not pay private mortgage insurance or PMI, right? Maybe it gives you the extra that you need to put 20% down if you choose to do that. So, that's why we do it. That's why we recommend it. That's why we're trying to get in touch and in front of people. It's one of the reasons I'm so grateful that you created your podcast and that you continue to allow this to be a vehicle for those of us in the industry to communicate this, in a more broad way than we can maybe with only our individual spheres or our individual clients, because there's so much value in kind of knowing this as a consumer and certainly, as a homeowner. So thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to share this information.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, obviously it would not work without people like yourself coming on. So I want to send my appreciation right back to you.
Yeah.
One thing I want to ask you about, I just did an episode with Jen Kamek, and it's kind of talking about the emotional roller coaster of buying, selling, just some of the emotions that folks don't always expect to have.
Yeah.
I think that, and I want you to talk on this a little more, a good rule of thumb is don't take it personally.
Yeah.
If the advice is, it's awesome that red's your favorite color, to paint every wall inside your home. And that's great when it's, something you're living in and enjoying, but you want to appeal to the masses. So can you talk to us a little bit about don't take it personally and the best way to appeal to the masses when you have people coming through your home?
Absolutely. I could not have said that better myself. It is a highly emotionally driven experience, right? So, and I can't remember off the top of my head, like the 5 most stressful things that you can do in your life, right? It's like get married, obviously start a family, and not that those aren't incredibly rewarding things to do and experiences to have in life, but a lot coincides with those. But buying and selling real estate is on the list of the top 5. So there's some legitimacy there. And, I think it's important. This is a conversation that I have with both buyers and sellers. It's really important for me as somebody who is hired and frankly trusted to be an extension of this transaction, regardless of whatever side it is. So all things, right, with good intentions, right? Assume good intentions on both sides of the coin. Be collegial. there's nothing that I love more than co-broking a deal with another agent who is philosophically aligned with the way that I have constructed my real estate practice, and really understands like, hey, this is a team sport. Like we've built incredible groups of people, like yourself, like I want to make sure that my title people, the inspectors that I might be referring clients to, the lenders, that we're all on the same page. We're all working together at the end of the day to help the buyer and the seller meet at that closing table. And it's such a special and such a rewarding part of this process. It's why I went into real estate in the first place, to help people do that and to do it in a way where everybody, for the most part, is happy at the end of the day and feels like their needs were met and feels like the transaction was smooth, right? Nothing is ever going to be seamless. There are a lot of pieces that coincide with buying and selling real estate. But removing the emotion from that transaction is paramount. Not taking those types of things personally is paramount. Otherwise, it's going to be miserable for you and your family or whoever's involved, regardless of whatever side you're on. You're going to be stressed out the whole time. You're going to be upset. And when you're not able to make decisions in your rational mind, sometimes you don't make the best decisions, right? Sometimes, you become hasty. If you've ever heard of the saying, like, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face, right? Like we don't want to be contentious. So not taking things personally is a really good rule of thumb for sure. Being open-minded, listening to the guidance, you have hired those folks for a reason. We are here, and I'm not a lender and I'm not an inspector and I'm not an appraiser and I don't work in title. But what I do know and what I do very well is help people navigate some of those obstacles that are undoubtedly going to be thrown our way. I'm a problem solver, right, by nature. And I'm somebody that believes that you can do it respectfully, and in a way that, both sides feel valued, and like they're being, treated fairly. So that's kind of my approach. And when people say like, hey, what do I look for when I'm looking for representation? You're looking for somebody that you feel comfortable communicating with in the best of times and in the worst of times, right? Because sometimes those conversations are not fun to have. It's not fun when you're representing a seller to have to tell them, here's the feedback that I have, right, from the showing. And I think this is probably where you were going with that. Or we're getting consistent feedback about this particular area of the home. Are you open to us maybe doing some additional staging or it may come down to the fact that we've been on market longer than normal. And the feedback that we keep getting is that whole house is painted red. If it's going to be something that prevents them from selling, if it's going to be something that prevents them from differentiating their home in a sea of other homes, especially when the market starts to heat up again and there's more inventory, it may be something that I advise. I'm not even going to say may. I would definitely, I would advise it. So, but you're right. It's definitely a balancing act to have to communicate some of those pieces of feedback to people.
What would you say to the person that has not chosen a listing agent? Maybe they're interviewing or they're just really feeling like they want to get their house a little more in order before they have somebody come in.
Sure.
And they need to pick a paint color. I know this is very specific, but hearing let's not do gray anymore.
Sure.
So is it just nice to do a clean white, a beige? I mean, somebody's going, what do I do? What color do I pick? What would you say?
Yeah. Certainly we always recommend, if it's a situation where the entire house has really been color washed and is, maybe this individual has gotten some feedback from whoever that it may not be ideal for market, something neutral for sure. I'm not personally a fan of tan walls everywhere. A soft white, is typically what I advise, because it's going to make the space look brighter and cleaner and larger. And those are all, positive attributes that buyers are seeking. It also gives them kind of a blank slate, and they can really visualize the space in doing, what they would like to do to it when they come in. The other thing I would recommend is visit a local paint shop. They have beautiful free catalogs that you can go in and select. They actually have already released the top colors for 2025. So they have a palette available and a little catalog with all of those colors. If you're someone that feels like, hey, I really want to make sure I'm on trend. I want to make sure that, I'm kind of in the know about what consumers might be looking for. So those are all resources that are available for free to you. That research I think is really important.
I think I just wanted to bring that point up so that a lot of times I feel like people are maybe intimidated before they get that seller's agent or listing agent coming in, and they want to have their house sort of maybe at a baseline before they do that. But I also don't want people to think they've chosen, a great staging color and then have an agent come in and be like, you know, maybe we should have done this different color, because at the end of the day, like you said, we want to set them up for success to get that home sold.
You think, oh gosh, like these realtors, like, they must all be so on trend. And they, I don't want them judging my home. I don't want them, placing a value that might be lower because I'm not staged yet. It's the exact opposite. My advice would be, if you don't have representation currently, as part of your pre-listing or pre-staging, start doing your research on us, folks. You want to make sure that you find someone that you feel aligned with. You should absolutely, if you have the time and the desire to do so, you should interview a whole slew of us. Invite us into your home. We're not here to judge. Like, we're here to help and provide that guidance and those recommendations. There are many instances, Bobbie, in real estate and design where I have been pulled in and I'm like, oh boy, I wish that I had connected with them weeks ago, months ago, because sometimes, they've kind of painted themselves into a corner, pun intended. And I'm like, I could have saved them a lot of time and a lot of money. So, call first, do that research. It's never too early. And you know what? If somebody comes in and makes you, feel badly about your home, or you feel like they're overly critical or judgmental, that might be an indication that they're not the right personality for you. So it's kind of it's a nice way to kind of vet us as in the industry as somebody that might potentially be listing your home in the future. And also just to make sure, yeah, like I do feel like I can have some of these conversations or tough conversations with someone. So I don't think it's ever too early, personally, to have those conversations or make those phone calls.
I think that's great that you're sort of giving permission to people to do that, to talk with different agents, because I feel like times have changed in that it's not just, hey, when you're ready to sell, call me and I'll stick a for sale sign on your lawn. I mean, the services you provide, and especially you go beyond to do more of a concierge type of service that you offer, that people, it's a business transaction, and in that they should be interviewing real estate agents and finding, like you said, somebody that aligns with their values, how they want to do this, someone they're comfortable with, and at the end of the day is just going to do a really great job for them. So I think that that's wonderful advice, that people need to know that they don't have to hire the first real estate agent that they speak with.
No, absolutely. And you know what? There's plenty of business to go around. One thing that I did learn, with my time at Remax Collaborative, much like the way that I chose to name my business, differentiate me, Mike and Chelsea Ireland, chose the name Remax Collaborative for a reason. They really did drive home the importance of collaborating, not just, amongst ourselves as agents, but doing our best to do that, throughout the transaction and in the community. So I have amazing friends and colleagues in this industry that haven't happened to be with Better Homes and Gardens or Remax or EXP. They're at Next Home. They're at Realty of Maine. They're at some of the other, brokerages, ERA Dustin. Like, we're very fortunate in the greater Bangor area to house a number of franchises and locally owned practices. So absolutely, shop around, find someone that you feel comfortable having difficult conversations with. And if you can be comfortable after maybe letting them into your home when you feel not ready, and you feel good about that. And that person was able to kind of put your mind at ease and make you feel like, yeah, my house is beautiful. My house is going to sell. Like, oh, you know what? I never looked at it that way, but I appreciate their objective feedback or whatever. It's probably an indication that you would work well with them. So yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of us around that are accepting new clients, and we would be happy anytime. And honestly, honored and grateful that you even invite us into your home. It's a big deal for us.
I want to go back to address maybe a few of the myths and misconceptions around staging. One of
Yeah.
them being that you have to buy all new furnishings or you have to rent furniture. I think HGTV has kind of got us on that mindset that, the stager's going to come in with all new furniture that you're not going to be able to sit on. You're going to worry about your kids, spilling Kool-Aid on or whatever. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, Lisa?
Yeah, sure thing. And, there are instances where I have clients that ask me to do that. More often than not, though, it's because it's a situation like I referenced earlier where either the home is going to be vacant because they are moving to a new location and bringing their belongings with them. Or, in some of those commercial instances, or even, it's a spec house, right? In some of these newer housing developments. So it does happen, but it's much less frequent. We really want to leverage your existing furnishings where possible, especially if you and your family are going to continue to reside in the home, right? And we've talked about, boy, there's a balance, and it needs to be show ready, but you are still having to navigate your daily life here until we're sitting around that closing table. So yeah, in most instances, I am leveraging 95% of the existing furnishings. In that, if I bring something in that is new to the space, it's serving a very specific purpose because the individual either doesn't have it, or has always wanted it, and we're going to integrate it for their own personal use and enjoyment, and they're going to take it with them when they leave.
So it could be, you have a great sofa. Get the steam cleaner out or rent one or
Yes.
borrow one from a friend. It's just doing those little things to freshen up.
Absolutely. If you have animals, I mean, animal odor is one that can be challenging for folks, especially at this time of year. We're in Maine. I am someone spring, summer, and fall until the furnace kicks on. I have my windows open. I love fresh air. I love to have my windows open. I love to like feel the warmth of the sun and hear the little birds chirping. But it's a little bit more, difficult to do that in January in Maine. And so, your home starts to develop a little bit of an odor. And one of my favorite, I don't even know if this commercial is still on, but Febreze did an awesome campaign many years ago that like you've gone nose blind, right? You've gone nose blind, and it shows like the gym bag that's open, and you can obviously see some type of odor coming out of it, or your dog or your cat box, whatever it is. In those instances, it's helpful to have somebody come in and say, hey, like, does it smell like I've been using my deep fryer all fall and winter? Because I definitely have been. And somebody that doesn't live in the space might be like, yeah, it does smell a little bit like grease. Or yeah, it does smell a little like your pets. So steam cleaning your furniture, makes a big difference. The little odor eliminator gel things that you see, I usually find them at TJ Maxx or Marshalls, can make a tremendous difference. I encourage people to put those, maybe in your pantry, maybe discreetly, in your laundry room or bathroom if you find that there are odors there. Anything that you can do to remove or suck up the odor without overwhelming somebody with a ton of plugins or scented candles, that can be an issue for people. So again, it's all about balance.
What would you like people to take away from listening to our chat here today?
That you're not alone. I mean, you've heard Bobbie and I share, like we are all experiencing similar things right now in our homes, in our business spaces. It's the time of year, but I think it is a very common experience for homeowners. And if you're listening to this and you're not a homeowner per se, but you lease or you rent your space, I think any dwelling, anywhere that you rest your body, or your mind or your heart at the end of the day, that's your space. You are going to feel better in it if it's organized. You're going to feel better in it. If the furniture is, working for you, and in your favor, and you're going to, feel better in general. Certainly if you're going to market, if you've had an opportunity to take the time, invest the time now, because I trust you, you're going to have less and less of that the closer that you go to go time as far as listing your home. And certainly when those showings, start to kick off, you're going to wish that you had taken a few weeks in advance to do it. We really are here to provide our market expertise, to provide our guidance, and kind of consultation so that you can enjoy the experience as best you can. There's going to be a little bit of stress along the way, regardless of how smooth the transaction goes. So we're here to kind of provide that expertise and knowledge to make it, the best experiences we possibly can.
For additional information about Lisa, her contact information, and also resources on decluttering and staging your home, visit the show notes page at MaineRealEstateRoundtable.com. I hope this episode has left you all feeling inspired. Thanks for listening. Until next time, keep it real. This has been the Maine Real Estate Roundtable podcast with Bobbie Grenier. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion and will share this episode with a friend. And don't forget to leave a review and follow the podcast so you don't miss new episodes. The content of this podcast is for informational purposes and not intended as legal advice or representation by myself or any of the guests on the podcast. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep it real.